I'm Kitty.
And I'm Max.
And this is Dango Duo!
Okay.
Welcome back.
Pencils down. Did you do your homework?
Did you? You don't have to. You might have already...
you might have already seen Code Geass.
You might have already read the source material.
Last week we did a review of Code Geass Season 1, and we're here to offer our thoughts on some of the most divisive elements of the anime.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you missed it, I just got a text. Someone missed it. If you missed our review, it should be on the channel. It was last week. We recommend that you watch it. We go over our general thoughts in Code Geass.
Spoiler free.
Yeah, spoiler free. We go over the good and over the bad. Today we're gonna spoil everything. We generally don't do spoilers ones anymore, but there is just so much here.
That's what happens when we watch a 25-episode anime in 4 sittings and need to talk about it.
and said anime has a lot of divisive elements.
Stuff going on.
How about we just begin, first and foremost, with a conversation that we just didn't have time to cover last episode.
No, we just briefly mentioned it, but...
And how come we watched the dub and not the sub?
Now listen, here at Dango Duo, we are a great recommender for dubs. We love dubs here at Dango Duo. It is a form of acting that people are professionally trained to do, and a lot of anime fans just shrug it off as like, oh no, it's the English voice actors and companies ruining the original source material.
Now, we talked about this a little bit on the last episode, but the one thing I want to clarify, okay? We're not arguing that original, like, old dubs, 1990s dubs were good. They were not.
No.
But again, with time, every medium of art gets better and improves.
Evolves.
And as we mentioned previously, the lead in this show, Lelouch, is voiced by Jorito Bosch, who you may recognize as the original voice of Vash the Stampede. And he fucking nailed that role, and that role was almost 20 years ago.
That's insane.
And this anime has Yuri Lowenthal in it, which... Did you play Spider-Man on the PS4? He did the voice of Spider-Man, and he fucking nailed that.
Amazing.
Voice acting is acting,
It's
and
a
just
profession.
as with any other kind of performance, this anime is strange. This anime has no right to have such a good dub.
It's an amazing cast. Like,
Jameson Price is here, Liam O'Brien is here, fucking the voice of Fi, which I keep forgetting.
Karen Stressman.
This is a really good
Laura
cast.
Bailey.
Laura Bailey's here. Crispin Freeman's here.
Oh, I love fucking Christmas.
This is a fucking crazy cast. Let's just make that very clear now.
When we looked it up and we were like, all right, so should we watch the sub or the dub? And we see this star-studded cast, we're like, this dub's gonna be great. And it was.
And now, someone out there is gonna say, but you're losing part of the source material when you have English actors reading a translation. And boy howdy, are you in for a rude awakening when you realize that the
subtitles are an
also,
interpretation of the original and kind of,
and especially when you listen. Even I, with like my 9 months of Japanese, I can notice sometimes when a translation goes, "Hey, that's not what that character said.
That's not that exact wording that they use."
I'm like, you picked a very strange interpretation of what that meant.
And dubs in the past have come up with in controversies because of changing certain words.
Yeah, recent ones too, like
Yuri on Ice and Dragon Maid.
Which
dubs and subs. It was both of them.
In which the translation served to actually erase queer representation in those translations, and that was the official translation. So, no matter what, if you're not experiencing it in the original Japanese, you're going to experience an approximation of what it actually was. The only thing here is that the bonus of a dub is that you get these amazing performances. And like, listen, we mentioned, the only one chewing the scenery is Liam O'Brien, and he's supposed to, because that's what that character is.
That's what that asshole is, and it's great.
Not Liam O'Brien the asshole, but the character
Lloyd, who is apparently on Behind the Voice Actors, the second most popular
That's
character.
hilarious.
Liam O'Brien fucking nails his performance, so...
We're already at 5 minutes, and we have not talked about this anime.
About any of the things that we wanted to talk about. Alright.
So for the spoilers on the way we're going to do this, we're not going to go step by step, because that would make this a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah.
So instead, we're just going to we're going to pick, like, 2 points each, and then we're going to converge on the ending.
Yes, because we need to talk about that.
Spoilers. Here be spoilers. We would like to inspire you to watch the show first. It's available on Hulu, but you know what? If you're the kind of person who wants to know what everybody else thinks or somebody else really thinks about something for watching it, tag along. We can't stop you.
That's true.
Kitty, what is your first topic of the day?
Well, let's start with some of the big ones here, which is actually at the bottom of my list because it was stuff we were like, oh shit, we should probably talk about that. There's some awkward implications about this show that is over 10 years old now that's becoming more relevant again as of late, and that is the undertones of Japanese nationalism that comes through very, very strongly in this show. Now listen, this is not the anime's fault. It's been over 10 years since this anime was made, but those feelings don't exactly go away of, American occupation.
As someone who studied Japanese history in university and recently just refreshed myself because of this anime, I like the parallels between the Britannia's invasion of Japan and the American occupation of Japan after World War II is too on the nose.
It's a little much.
It almost feels like that fan fiction thing of like it's the same thing, just change the names and then just like make the antagonist the most evil as possible to kind of justify the main character's actions. Like it's just so extreme and it feels so on the nose, especially if you have studied Japanese history. You realize, oh wow, that's like a little bit on the nose,
and it's a little uncomfortable nowadays when Japanese nationalism, because nationalism as a whole with our American president is kind of coming back, unfortunately, and the state of the EU right now, especially Britain. Like this anime has become a little too relevant again, and it's not exactly saying great things.
And again, the issue is not that it's talking about this.
No.
The whole point of art, and anime is art. It's one of the creative mediums. The point of these things is to talk about things. Unfortunately, the things that Code Geass says about nationalism and militarization
is a little uncomfortable.
It's a little uncomfortable. Like as we mentioned in the review, like this is the thing where like you watch the anime and you go, oh yeah, popcorn, yum, 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 yum. And then like if you actually look down at the popcorn, you realize, oh yeah, racism.
Delicious racism.
No. There is some racism in this anime.
Oh god, there's a lot.
But the problem is that because it's an anime and it's not trying to talk about those things, it feels problematic because everyone's drawn in the same style, but we have characters clearly committing acts of racism against other characters who look exactly like them.
Because it's anime and we can't tell the difference between Japanese and Britannian.
I want you to realize, like, no one thought about that. Like, the whole idea is like, oh, you filthy Britannian, said the guy or you filthy 11.
So the guy kicking a guy who looks just like him, honestly.
And it literally makes no sense. But also, oh my god, I'm sorry, I took over. We have the whole thing of like how when the Britannians take over the country of Japan, they just rename it and they give everyone a new name, which is literally the textbook example of how to prepare for a rebellion or how to cause a rebellion later on. Listen, the Romans nailed this like thousands of years ago. When they took over land, they're like, okay, you still get to be you. You're just part of our empire now.
Well, that's...
and you get to have you still get to have your gods. See, just Zeus is called this now.
Jupiter.
Yeah, it's called Jupiter now. It's cool.
It's cool.
Don't worry about it.
Come on in. See, that's the problem with this anime, is that it wanted a revolution.
Yeah. It almost feels as though the entire setting was set up for the events to unfold.
Oh,
as
hey,
opposed
look,
to...
that's your point.
Oh my god,
It was
true.
so graceful, us.
The setting for this anime, which is my negative, this setting...
Or your point.
Yeah. My point is that this setting makes... no fucking sense.
Zero goddamn sense.
As I mentioned in the review, like, Britannia, like, the flag of Britannia is a real-ass flag used by the British nations after the fall of the Holy Roman Empire. I forget. Listen. But it's a real-ass flag.
Well, the symbol is real. The actual flag is just from Code Geass, but yes.
No, I thought it was a whole flag. It's just blue.
No, it's just the symbol of the lion and the snake.
The lion and the snake. It's a real-ass symbol. And... in that way, it's a little bit problematic because you have a real-ass symbol of a real-ass people and you use it in your anime for this
not
fantasy.
Not real-ass anime.
But let's just overlook that. There's so many things that I have problems with in the setting. The idea that somehow in this alternate history, the British Britannia, which is just, Britain slash, that whole section over there, never stopped wearing the clothes that they were wearing in the 1800s, in spite of the fact that by the year 2017?
I forget what year this actually takes place.
Because this anime takes place in like the year 2000 and something.
In the future.
In the future.
Of the past.
I think it's 2017. But like literally, they wouldn't be wearing those clothes anymore, and more so, the costume design is way more representative of like Germanic and Russian kind of like royalty wear, as opposed to British royalty wear.
Yeah.
So me as your editor, as the person who's supposed to be to question everything here, I'm like, guys,
this is what they'd be wearing. Also, why would they be wearing it?
Yeah, like because it's supposed to create the sense of otherness, right? Like that's what they look like, and that's what we look like.
Yeah, which
yeah, but it's still so silly. Like,
but they're all anime characters. They can't tell them apart anyway.
Exactly. It's not even like all the Japanese have dark hair and all the Britannians have colored hair. It's not even that though.
No.
And then you literally And then fuck, I'm almost gonna just cancel into my other negative. But this anime. Clearly, the setting is to enable this story, as opposed to it being a story that takes place in the setting. That's why the world doesn't feel realized. Yeah. The world feels secondary. It feels like a backdrop, like the backdrop in a play or in a telenovela. It's just there to enable the drama.
Exactly.
And that's not inherently a bad thing. Unfortunately, this anime is tackling some
real-ass issues.
Which, and also, the anime doesn't seem to recognize how problematic it is that the only reason this rebellion can happen is because our protagonist happens to be a prince in a position of
Britannian
power,
prince,
and also has magic powers,
and then gains magical powers.
Like to me, it feels like super removed from reality. The idea was like the only way
this could have
happened is thanks to this.
Because you see the other forces trying to rebel, and they're just not good enough. But thanks to Lelouch and this. And they, to be fair, they actually, like, kind of talk about this in the anime, that, like, why should we trust, he's Britannian, why should we be led by him, us, the Japanese forces trying to take back Japan? That's a fair question to bring up, because, like, yeah.
But also, what about the fact that Lelouch doesn't actually care about freeing Japan? He just wants to kill the royal family.
He just wants to kill everybody.
So at the first moment when he has to actually pick between the rebellion and his family, he picks his family instead, and that kind of leads to what we see in the final episode, where the whole command system falls apart.
Yeah.
And like, okay, listen. How do I say this?
We're not saying you can't have a flawed character who is trying to lead something but actually has secret intentions of his own.
Like, it feels like the anime doesn't realize how dumb this is, or how problematic it is.
Or how they just didn't think about it.
Like, it feels like they just didn't think about it, which is not a good thing when you're creating a show, to get the feeling like, oh man, did the writers not think about this?
And they try. Bless them, they try sometimes.
This anime has some really good highs, but the fucking lows are so fucking low.
They're very dumb and bad.
The thing, I didn't want to say this in the review, but like, this is not a good story.
Oh, no.
This is not a good story. It's
dumb.
This is schlock. This is junk food.
Junk food for your eyes and your brain. And
like, as a writer, what can you take from this? Yo, the interplay between so many characters, like having like 25 plus characters and everybody kind of converges near the end, that's fucking stellar.
That's good. There's a twist that I'm going to talk about in a minute that's really good writing that you don't see coming, and you're like, oh, fucking shit, of course. This is the worst possible thing that could happen, but it's good. It's not like a good thing, because when we talk about it, it's definitely not a good thing. But it's good writing shit right there.
Well, Kitty, how would you just jump in?
Well, you don't want to talk about your other favorite character first, while we're talking about how bad the setting is?
No, I've rambled for way too much. You just jump in.
Now let's talk about Euphemia Lee Britannia, the princess who takes over, after Prince Clovis, is assassinated, They didn't really talk about if she's actually the leader, because it just feels very contrived and politically schlocky and shit like that. So I don't even know if she's leading Area 11. It's really hard to tell. Anyway, the point of this is that she is this empathetic person who genuinely cares for other people, despite being Britannian royalty of this, this family and this, nation that has colonized basically a third of the world. She wants the best for people. She doesn't want violence. She wants, everyone to live together peacefully. And she's a really good character in this otherwise very grim, very, I will kill everyone else who doesn't look like me, basically, story. So you think, she's working towards getting peace in Area 11, trying to make it renowned as Japan, trying to kind of alleviate all of the rebellion that's happening underneath the surface. And things go very, very wrong, and it feels good.
We haven't even talked about what the Geass is.
We didn't even talk about it.
Like, if someone's watching this just because they want to hear us ramble, the Geass is basically a magic power that the main character Lelouch is given by the character of C2, that allows him to basically just wield people to do what he wants to do.
But he can only use it on a person once. So if he ever uses it again, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. So it can literally be like, it can be like, hey, like, comment, and subscribe.
And then, oh shit, I've already liked, commented, and subscribed.
And then you would forget, and then you would just look down and realize, oh, I already liked, commented, and subscribed.
Yeah, when did that happen? And then, of course, because, this anime is schlocky, another Geass user shows up, and he has different Geass powers.
But only one shows up.
Only one! And then V2, I don't know what's her deal anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about her, probably not. But anyway, he's been using his Geass. This is like episode 20 or so?
No,
1920?
Like 22. Or
is it that late?
It's really late.
Oh, it is pretty late. Yeah, 21, 22. Where he's been using his power a shit ton on a whole bunch of people to basically, make things go his way. He's this grand strategist, kind of person who's helping this rebellion kind of, from the inside out. And it's, in a couple earlier episodes, you can see that he actually really does love Euphemia, because she was one of the siblings who is not, hell-bent on destroying other people, she's just a genuinely good person. So, of course, the worst possible thing has to happen to her, where they're talking in the background, and Lelouch is losing control of his powers, and says something that sets her off to do horrible, horrible things. He says, basically
it's like, I could never will you to kill all the Japanese. And she's like, kill all the Japanese?
And it's such a very good moment, because throughout the anime you've been seeing, the red circles around their eyes signifying that they're being controlled. And you see her struggle with that for a moment, because deep down she's not that kind of person. And she's trying to, say no to the Geass, but it eventually takes over. And she commands the army to kill a bunch of Japanese people. And it's a twist I didn't see coming, and it's fucking heartbreaking.
I feel like part of the thing that made it so effective is that, it happened. I'm like, no. He didn't command her to it. And then, later you get, it's a plot twist that works very well, because the pieces were laid down for it. Yeah. And then when you realize that he, without purposefully saying it, his Geass just basically projects outwards, and she just takes the order and just starts...
Just picks up commands her army, and then picks up a machine gun. And
I think the harshest part is later on, after all the shit's happening and she's on her deathbed. She's like, "Did I do good? Are they all the Japanese safe?"
Because she can't remember killing and ordering that command of killing all the Japanese. And she thinks, because at this time she's trying to create I think it's a specialized zone where Japanese can call themselves Japanese, have rights and shit like that. And she's trying to do what she thinks is best, and she doesn't know that she ordered the killing of hundreds of thousands of Japanese people, and she doesn't know because she can't remember. And it's heartbreaking, because we've been with this character for at least 10 episodes. She doesn't show up right in the beginning, but she shows up kind of in the middle of the beginning, and you get to see her struggles with being this political figurehead, while also just being this kind person, and the struggle between what do I do for my family versus what I think I should do for myself and for the character that I am, the type of person I am. And it's absolutely heartbreaking, and it's some good schlock. It's some good shit, honestly. Because I don't know, I could have never seen that coming. I knew coming in that she died.
And apparently it told me, but I didn't remember.
Thank God. But I knew that she came in dying because she was the character who interested me the most because she's fucking pink-haired, of course. I love
she's
her.
Cute.
She's a princess. Of course I love her. But I didn't know how she died, and I could have never predicted that it was going to be this. I would have thought Lelouch would have had to kill her at some point or
she was
something.
going to sacrifice herself or something.
Exactly.
This is a really good example of like the worst possible thing that could happen to the worst possible character.
Exactly.
And it's one of those moments where the anime feels kind of graceful, where it's like, oh my god, of course she was going to be the one to do the order.
And of course, they set this up by introducing Mao, aka Gay Fred, who had lost control of his Geass powers, who can't turn them off. And so, it, kind of establishes that, like, that's where it's going to go, that Lelouch won't be able to turn off his powers.
Again, at times this anime can be kind of graceful, and unfortunately,
it's just kind of dumb, too.
Once you look deeper in there, it just kind of starts falling apart. This is good junk food.
It is.
If it is good anything, it's good junk food.
And there's moments of even better than that in here, but it's only moments, unfortunately.
Which brings me to... Do you mind if I take over?
Go for it. Let's talk about another character.
Let's talk about Nina Einstein.
Woo!
Which I want you to just stop for a second and just consider where you think a character with that name would end up going. And... Okay, so Nina has... Before the pivotal moment in her character, she has one scene. She and her other two friends, Millie and what the fuck is the other? Shirley. Go on a trip and they end up basically being hostages in this situation.
In the Japanese Federation's takeover of a certain place or whatever. I don't know.
Because of Sakura Dite.
Sakura Dite, yeah.
Magic metal goo.
It's basically, what is it, adamantium?
Gundarium.
Gundarium, yeah.
The thing that makes the mechs work.
Yeah, basically.
Euphemia actually manages to save them because she happens to be there because everybody happens to be at all locations at once.
Yep.
And it is her sacrifice or her standing up to protect Nina it starts this
a chain reaction.
Chain reaction. It stirs these feelings in her. And a couple episodes pass, and the next time when we have a scene with just Nina in it, it is the most baffling scene that I have seen in anime.
It's uncomfortable. It's weird. I've never seen it before in a mainstream anime.
I've never seen anyone just talk about these two. Because what you get is... Because, in anime, in movies and TV shows, the camera frames... The camera presents the characters in a light.
In a certain way.
People complain in the Superman reboot how the movies make Superman look like Jesus. Because the camera is treating Superman like Jesus.
Exactly.
In this scene, the camera treats Nina like she is a monster.
Yeah. She's completely
we see her
shadow.
She's in shadow, she's in a dark room, and she's convulsing. And as the camera pans out, you realize that she is masturbating.
Against the table.
Against the table, and you notice that there's photos of Princess Euphemia on the surface of the table. And
someone comes in and she smooths out her skirt, basically.
Skirt. It is a super guttural, raw depiction of masturbation,
because
which comes out of fucking nowhere.
The animation doesn't shy about her convulsing and then orgasming. I think you were it looked like she had a seizure.
Yeah, I thought she was having a seizure.
Yeah.
Because it's gratuitous.
It is.
It's gratuitous. And then as soon as that happens, I'm like, where's this gonna go? Because in my mind, part of writing and part of editing is to be able to displace yourself and look at things objectively. Because she's a girl, we don't think of it as being as creepy. But if it had been a guy violently masturbating to a picture of the Princess Euphemia, we would have been gross to all fucking heck.
We were still gross, but...
I was still grossed out, and the part that bothered me the most was why did you show me this? Not because we're prudes and we're against masturbation, but because we had known nothing else about this character other than that she's kind of shy.
She's a little racist.
And her other trait was that she was racist.
Yeah, she was very uncomfortable by Japanese people, made even worse by that kidnapping and hostage situation.
Yeah.
Which, they're kind of trying to set up her character, which I understand. Yeah. It comes to a head later, but...
Character traits. Racist, horny AF.
Gay.
Gay.
Yeah. This anime's we'll talk about this a little bit before we jump into the ending. But the anime's adaptation of, or not adaptation, handling of gay is
There's one line in the translation that feels almost mean-spirited.
It like almost, but also like we were surprisingly okay with it.
We were surprised. Okay, so there's a whole thing going on about how
it's about the cat.
The class has to catch a cat, and whoever gets it will get a kiss from a member of the student council. And
half of which are girls.
Yeah, and a bunch of guys are like, "Oh yeah, I want Colin to kiss me. Oh, you're against her will. Oh, wouldn't that be hot?
Oh, I want Millie to kiss me because she's hot. She's the student council president."
And then you see a girl in the background.
It's like, I hope I can catch her so Millie can kiss me.
And then a girl next to her goes, "Oh my god, get back in the closet."
And
which
we both were like, "Excuse me?"
Which the time? Okay, this was 2006, so there's no way that's supposed to be like endearing. It's clearly supposed to be like, "Hi, you're gay. You
weirdo."
Let me remind you of your otherness. You don't belong here." That's what that means. But now in 2019, we looked at that and it was almost kind of comical.
It was
because really it just means put it back in your pants.
Yeah,
you know?
but
like a little bit too horny for Maine.
Yeah,
but like, we wouldn't say that to our friends.
No.
But I can imagine writing
that line.
I could imagine like for like, probably not ho wouldn't say that. But like I can imagine a situation where that line could exist and it could be actually kind of endearing. But
very weird in this anime.
But it was so fucking weird. And then you have Nina violently masturbating to the corner of a table.
Obviously infatuated or enamored with Princess Euphemia to the point where she like jumps in front of a car that Princess Euphemia is in to try to meet her. Like this is obviously like.
But I don't feel like at any point it's presented to be romantic or to be cute. It
not cute. I think it is presented to be romantic because later
in an obsessive kind of way.
Yes, in an obsessive kind of gross way.
I can concede that. Yeah.
Because like later when she does actually get to meet Princess Euphemia, they're in front of a fireplace together.
Yeah, and she's wearing her clothes.
Yeah, and I can clearly tell that they wanted this to be kind of like coded creepy, but gay also.
But of course, as we all know, in Japanese culture, lesbians are not allowed to have a happy ending.
Yes. Which is partially like Western influence, but also just partially. I was reading about this a little bit.
Yeah. You were. Yeah. And is the character of Nina
good queer representation?
I
don't think so.
I don't think so. Mostly because of the way that the camera kind of treats her. Mm-hmm. Especially, Jesus, that masturbation scene.
It's guttural.
It made me feel uncomfortable. Not because masturbation is uncomfortable or a woman masturbating is uncomfortable, but because I thought she was in pain. I thought she was having a seizure. And the camera plays her out to be almost like it looks like a werewolf transformation.
It's violent.
It's violent. It doesn't...
It's not like, oh, I was just thinking about her. Oh, I love her. It's like, I want to fucking meet her. I want to say thank you.
I thought you were going to end that sentence differently.
I know, but...
And this all... And okay, next trait that you learn about Nina is that she somehow discovered nuclear fission. Somehow she discovered nuclear fission.
She's very smart because her name is Einstein.
I really dislike that because it also brings the question of like, is she Jewish? How did World War II go for this setting?
But she's Britannian because she's in the Britannian school, so...
Also, just because she's called Einstein doesn't mean she has to know about nuclear weapons. Einstein didn't...
it's because she's smart.
I just want to remind you guys that Einstein did not make the nuclear bombs.
No.
I just want to let you know that
Wasn't it before his time, anyway?
It was after his time.
Oh, it was after his time.
I think so.
I mean after his time.
And also, it was a bunch of other people.
Yeah, it was Americans.
Yeah, and also, like, I almost wish I could just bring out the list of, like, the whole people. I mean, like, you could have given her any of these other names. It would have felt a little bit better, a little bit less on the nose.
Yeah.
And, of course, this all comes to a head later in the season where...
After Euphemia has died.
Where she somehow, in spite of having pointed out that the amount of plutonium-12 that you would need to make a bomb is, like, literally impossible because there's not enough of it on the planet, she somehow still makes a nuclear bomb.
She makes some sort of very large bomb.
Somehow in the high school, all by herself.
Yep.
Somehow she does it. And that right there is like...
And then holds the entire Tokyo area hostage, basically, by being like, if you shoot anywhere near this bomb, it will explode the entire area of Tokyo. Which, by the way, we won't get a conclusion of because of that ending. Ayo!
you want to segue out of this, but I can't put it back in the box. It's just out there now, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing where it's like, there's a queer character there, and she is fucking crazy and racist. Let's not forget that that's the first thing you learn about her, is that she is racist.
Yeah, she is clearly uncomfortable by Japanese and doesn't really improve. In fact, she
only gets worse.
Deproves, basically.
Deproves.
She
and,
just goes completely backwards on this issue, especially because Euphemia is like, kill all the Japanese, and she's like, of course, I knew it, the Japanese are bad all along, basically.
That voice is on point.
Yeah.
And also just, like, she didn't only make the bomb because she hates the Japanese. She also made the bomb because she was infatuated with Euphemia. And after her death, she was basically left heartbroken.
And distraught.
Her queerness is part of the reason why she made a nuclear bomb. Mm-hmm. And that right there is a little bit of a problem.
It's a bit of a problem.
And I feel like, I don't know. It sucks when I say, I think I nailed it. But it's the idea of, like, if that masturbation scene had been by a male character...
Yeah, if it had been, like, Suzaku.
If it had been Suzaku masturbating...
Or that guy. I forget his name. I can't scroll down for me. What's his fucking name?
His name is...
Rivals
Cardamonde.
Yeah, if it had been by him, because he obviously likes Millie, it would have been incredibly uncomfortable.
It would have been really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And again... He, like, every time Nina is a part of this story, and near the end she becomes, I don't want to say pivotal, but she's part of the slice, of the slice of, like they can't take over this part of the school because she has a nuclear bomb.
Mm-hmm, that's just ready to go.
She's part of the plot and the drama, and considering the little spoiler that we have of her in season 2, I doubt that she will improve.
No. Like, we'll give this anime a somewhat thumbs up for attempt at queer representation.
In 2006.
In 2006, 2007. Yep, you did it. Disability representation, there's one.
There's one?
Honestly, you could probably code Lelouch's gay or asexual.
Yeah.
So,
I like Lelouch's ace, actually.
Yeah, because, literally at some point he says, "You're the only woman I've ever loved."
Oh, yeah.
To Euphemia, which is a little weird because they're like half siblings.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you could easily code him as queer in some capacity.
Yeah.
So, they tried, and I'm sure, Clamp, being queer AF and, ladies are awesome AF. You could, I'm sure some of that might have passed a little bit into the characters, but, like, most of it is just, you tried, but that's really bad.
Credit where credit is due. Like, half the cast is female, which is fucking great.
Yeah, the main knight of fucking Lelouch, Colin, is a lady.
Yeah.
And she's a badass lady. CC is, like, pretty badass.
And mostly mysterious.
C2, whatever.
Oh, yeah, C2. And, like, she's kind of... There's a whole thing about her with pizza that keeps coming back.
It just keeps coming. I'm pretty sure it was just a tie-in with some pizza company or something.
Oh, yeah, she totally did a Pizza Hut promotion.
Yeah.
But, like... Again, parts of this anime are kind of good, and some of them are just fucking bad.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would be more okay with Nina coming up with a nuclear bomb or some sort of massive bomb if her name wasn't Einstein.
Yeah.
That right there is like fucking stupid.
That pushes it over the edge of stupidity.
That's too on the nose. Listen, that's too on the nose. Kitty, let's talk about...
Let's talk about that ending, though. Let's wrap this shit up.
So I thought there was 2 seasons. Apparently there's 3 seasons of this anime.
There's third season was only like a year or 2 ago,
yeah.
So that's not boding well for the conclusion of season 2.
25 episodes in. I was hoping for some kind of resolution. But this is clearly a 50 episode series.
Yeah, because I think the next season, it started in 2008. I don't know when in 2008, but it started basically the next year after this series had finished. So maybe a season or two later, maybe like a year later at the most.
Okay, isn't it fucking great that we live in the future? Because
thank God.
Having to wait a year after that plot twist, like
after that ending,
we were saying that like, or the cliffhanger,
yeah,
like we were saying that like, it is the equivalent of like if My Hero Academia Season 3 ended right before the fight between the you-know-who and the you-know-what.
Right before the ending of the fight.
Like literally, the final punch.
Yeah.
Like it ends right there.
And then we have to wait a year.
You have to wait a year to know what happens after that.
Yeah.
That would
be shitty.
But the thing about Code Geass is that we both know who takes the shot. Mm-hmm. We both know who takes the shot.
We're pretty damn
it's
sure.
Colin. It's Colin.
We're pretty damn sure it's Colin.
But more importantly, the story is not about the shot. And the story leaves so much open. Because the story can't end here. The story can't.
I mean, like, literally, we're in the middle of a fucking, of a revolution that's, happening on one side of the country, and then somewhere else we have this whole other plot with V2, whoever the fuck she is, kidnapping Nunnally, and then, of course, everything has come to a head where we all know who Zero is now. It's Lelouch, and all the characters know this, and it finally comes to a head, and then nothing. Then the credits roll.
Honestly, when you see this anime as 50 episodes instead of 25, this is the middle of the second act.
Yes, which makes more sense.
Which absolutely makes sense.
But we're judging it as it was during season 1, and boy howdy, that ending kind of sucks for a season finale.
Strangely enough, and here's where I'm going to come with my radical point of view, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Mexico. I grew up with my family watching telenovelas. I grew up watching anime where the policy in Mexico was to never show the final episode.
Yeah.
That was the policy in Mexico. Never show the final episode of anime. The only time they did was the final episode of Dragon Ball Z, or Z, I don't know.
Z.
Dragon Ball. And like, the reason was is because that show had been running for like 10 years.
Yeah,
and people like me and Blake had been raised on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they that's like a 45-minute like fucking bonus thing that had to like air in the weird ass block, and everybody fucking watched it.
Yeah.
And the ending of Dragon Ball, no, it was the ending of Dragon Ball GT. I'm sorry, because it has a whole like extra 15 minutes where it goes through the entire anime
cast and like
like all like the starting moments. It starts with Dragon Ball, the original,
nice.
into Z, and then to GT, and it's a fucking great closing. But I grew up never knowing, and also
the ending of like Trigun,
and or a bunch of American shows where like
Cardcaptor,
or a bunch of American shows where literally they end on a cliffhanger, and they never had a season 2,
and it never continues. Like I mean, like
a lot of like the original Spider-Man Fox Kids version. I think it ends in a cliffhanger, or it has like a horrible cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And like I grew up on stuff like that, so I'm not. When I look at Code Geass as a whole experience, it was schlocky, it was popcorn. It was a
fun watch, but it's dumb.
It was a dumb action movie that doesn't really say anything meaningful, and that's okay sometimes, and I don't feel super bad about the cliffhanger, mostly because we live in the future and we can just start at season 2, and we will as soon as this is over. Actually, no, we have to finish watching that anime first.
Yep, the anime will work.
But we're going to watch season 2.
Yeah, and then
probably in like 4 days.
Probably, and then we'll watch season 3.
And that's the way the next couple of weeks are gonna go. Now you know. No, we're gonna be kind of.
We'll split it up.
We'll split it up. We have a special pick coming up next week.
Yeah.
Guys, Kitty, I feel like I took over. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Honestly, this ending, it's kind of bad.
It is bad, but I understand what.
Sorry, the thing that I hate the most about this is on Hulu, it just, the next episode, hey, season 2's right here. It looks like everything's fucking fine and not resolved in any sort of way. It's like back at the dorms, and I'm like, no, please don't do that. That's one thing. The one thing I don't want.
Oh, so you're thinking it's gonna take like 5 episodes to see who took the shot?
To figure out what happened.
That's very American too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, hey,
That's my fear.
Guys, I know that you want to know what's happening on this part of the island, but let me give you the backstory to this other character who you don't care about.
What are you talking about, Lost?
Oh man.
I mean, it is
Lost?
actually taking place on an island.
Oh, it is taking place on an island.
This last episode, yeah.
This was a fucking long one. Ah, we did it again!
They're so bad.
We're gonna need like 2 hours of B-roll. Otherwise it's gonna be the whole fucking B-roll.
Yeah, we're gonna have 1 hour and then 1 hour.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys.
Hello.
We're Dango Duo.
We ramble too much, but it's fine.
Twitter accounts.
just
Yeah.
go to Twitter.
You will like, comment, and subscribe.
My Geass commands.
My
it.
Geass commands you. Fuck. Also, one of the things that I didn't get to bring up is that Euphemia's voiced by Michelle Ruff.
Yes, Kawakami.
He was Kawakami,
Tsukasa,
Tsukasa from My Lucky
who we
Star.
covered in Lucky Star.
Yeah, and I'm like, her performance is so good.
So good. Laura Bailey, who shows up towards the end, is so fucking good too.
Dubs.
Dub-
No, guys, go into the comments and type dab for dubs.
Dab for dubs.
Dab for dubs, okay?
So we know you watched the whole video.
So you know when you watch the whole video if you go down and said dab for dubs.
Dab for dubs.
Hey guys, we're Dango Duo. Links in the description down below. Link to how you can treat us to maybe a little something, something, something. And of course, Patreon. Patreon.com/Dango Duo is the #1 place to support us and what we do. By pledging just $1 any, you can get cool perks like shoutouts, like the following people:
Alexel Hoshi.
Amelia,
Angela.
Aerosols,
Lier.
Luna.
And sound.
You hear that sound?
It's the sound of the outro music.
Oh
playing.
yeah, we're getting out of here. Hey guys.
God, my throat. It hurts from all this talking.
From all the screaming about...
All this screaming about why did Nina have to fuck the side of the desk?
Why did she have to fuck
Why
the
did we
side
have
of
to
a-
see that?
Like, you could have told us she was gay in like a different way that didn't make her look like she was transforming into a werewolf.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, it was pretty obvious even without that scene. It was like she's like becoming fucking obsessed with seeing Euphemia.
Yeah.
So it was pretty obvious. We really didn't
You
need
didn't
that.
really need to also frame her like she's a monster.
Yeah. Hey, but it's queer representation! Yay!
Male writers in the writing room. Okay, what's scary? Women.
Masturbating!
Women. Whoa. Did they do that?
Gay
Can they
women.
even do that?
But what if she's also gay? Whoa! And then they all run screaming.
Sato-san, you just earned yourself a fucking promotion.
It's the worst nightmare of all. Gay women masturbating. Ah!
She's not masturbating about a penis.
It's about a vagina. Ah!